Happy New Year, everybody. Hey, welcome back to Bible-n-Bourbon. The calendar changed, the pressure changed, but thankfully, our God did not change. Today I'm pouring me a glass of this single barrel Remus bourbon whiskey. And what I really enjoy about it is that it's consistent, it's carefully crafted, and it's unrushed. And that matters because that's what today's message is about. Every new year, this time of year, I hear a lot of people about resolutions, right? We set all these goals, we make all these promises, and we have this pressure to get it right. We put this high expectation upon ourselves of, because in reality, the calendar flipped over and we are now at the beginning of a new year. We treat it different than we do any other time of the year. We got to get it right. At least that's what we tell ourselves. And, that pressure is the reason, in my opinion, why a lot of people fail at their resolutions. You can look it up. I don't remember the stat, right? But I think at some point in time, it's like, most people quit their New Year's resolutions within like the first 3 weeks. That's crazy for the amount of emotional burden we put on ourselves for those few weeks. And then the weeks to follow may be full of, some regret or some remorse, maybe some feelings of failure, whatever it is, man. But it's crazy. You don't need to do all that. I'm just going to let you know right now. We got to be grounded, and our scripture gives us this grounding message. And it's from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8, where it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday as he will be today and forever. So my God that was with me on New Year's Eve is the same God that he is today, and the same God that's going to be here for all of my days and for all of the generations to follow. He ain't going anywhere. He ain't changing. The year changed, but our God didn't change. And I find that's interesting because just like us, not all barrels of whiskey are going to be the same. Every barrel of this Remus bourbon is going to have different notes. It's going to have different depth. It's going to have a different finish. To no fault of the process, it's just where these barrels are stored, the time of year it is, the temperature, whatever it is, which way the wind's blowing, whatever it may be, there's so many factors that come to the outcome of how this one little sip tastes. And just like us, right? There's so many factors of what our outcome is going to look like. And that's how God works with us. Your circumstances is going to change, right? Your story is going to take some very unexpected turns. And I know that, like I've been there before. My plans are my plans, and they don't always follow God's plan. And I got to do better at seeking God's plan versus just trying to do things my way and make them my way. I could set financial goals for myself. I could set fitness and health goals for myself, right? But something's going to happen. I know something's going to happen. And I know myself to where, if I get disrupted for a day or a couple days, for whatever that reason is, it takes me so much longer to get back to even wanting to try to get after that mark again. It's just the way we are sometimes. Some of you folks are super motivated, right? And you're just gonna maybe fall off the horse, and you're gonna get back up, and you're just gonna start 100% right back in. For me, I would say for most things that's not the case for me. I would say a lot of things maybe, but most things no. I give you an example of the gym. I can go to the gym for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 4 or 5 months. I miss like 2 or 3 days because I'm tired or I'm sore for whatever reason. I can come up with a multitude of excuses of why I didn't go to the gym. but it will take me so much longer just to get back in and going than, my initial motivation to get up and go back into it. I know I need to do it, not because I'm trying to be this, super fitness personality. I just know it's so much, for my mental well-being, for my physical health. I need a lot of energy every single day. And the gym just helps me get there. So, for whatever it is, just know that something's going to happen and you're going to get disrupted, and it's okay. In Malachi 3:6, it says, "For I, the Lord, do not change." God didn't wait for the new year to come along. God didn't wait for me to get, X, Y, and Z accomplished, for me to get myself ready to go do whatever it is that I was going to go do. He stayed the same. He stayed faithful. God stayed patient. Most importantly, he stayed present while I was trying to figure this out. Just like this, bourbon inside this glass right here. It just didn't magically appear and become good overnight. The distiller didn't throw the ingredients together and, swish it up with a stick and then throw it in a bottle and here we are, we got this bourbon. No, it took time. It took the right environment. It took staying put, in the barrel in the rick house for no less than 6 years. And some of us, we don't need this new year to change, right? We don't need, a certain milestone to be hit. Sometimes we just need to stay still and allow God to do what only God can do. I don't know if you're like me, but, there's been many a times where I would get frustrated at a situation, and it's typically at work. And I'll just start, doing a little bit extra, trying to do things my own way, right? Trying to form the outcome, and I'll tell myself, well, God gave you this ability, so you can go ahead and just make it work, man. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes I'm in these seasons and I'm dealing with these things because God's trying to use me to either learn something for myself or use me to maybe help somebody else out in that situation, right? And I'm trying to move faster than what God is trying to move. And I just got to stop being, what I think that's a little reckless in my opinion, because I'm going to find myself in some mess and then I'm going to, come back and be like, oh, Lord, help me. I created this problem and I need you to help get me out of it. Or I'm going to say, Lord, why did you do this to me, God? I didn't deserve this. I was just trying to do my best, Father. No, I was speeding. I was trying to move my will ahead of God's will. And sometimes, when he humbles us, we see that very clearly. And, you just got to take a beat in the moment and allow God to work with you. Just like you got to take a beat in the moment, and enjoy just the quality and peace and patience of life. With all that pressure that we put on ourselves, with all of these things and these situations, right? These goals and these promises that we make for ourselves, us trying to move ahead of God, us trying to, do things our way. We got to remember, and it's in Lamentations, I believe, where it says his mercies are new every morning. It doesn't say, in 2026 on New Year's, his mercies are going to be new, right? God's mercies are new every single day. His mercies are new every single morning. Not every January, but every single morning. And what a blessing that is. Because once I fall off my mark, I ain't got to wait till next January. I just got to, be thankful if God wakes me up tomorrow morning to be able to do the things that God needs me to go do. Man, how awesome is that? So if you're walking around, already into this year and you're kind of tired, right? Maybe you got a little bit of stress and uncertainty, right? Or you're unsure about what you want to do. Maybe you're still carrying some weight from some relationships or some financial struggles or some health struggles, whatever it is, right? That, you're still carrying in, right? Just remember that this may be a new year, but we have the same God. Going back to our opening scripture, it's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And that's in Hebrews, right? Same God yesterday, today, and forever. And that's way more than enough. That's so beautiful and such a blessing, right? That we can have some grace before our goals, that we can have some surrender before we have resolutions. So if you like this, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about it. Please give me a thumbs up down below, subscribe, and I'll see you the next time on Bible-n-Bourbon, where we'll pour a glass and we'll open up the Word.